Welcome back to the Live Company. My name is Matt, and today we're going to be talking about imposter syndrome and what you can do to overcome it. Now, imposter syndrome is not even a syndrome. I feel like it's something that everybody gets and everybody has experienced once in their life. You go to a school that you feel like you don't belong at, start a new job you feel like you don't belong at. You're doing something where even though you put in a bunch of effort and a bunch of time to accomplish something, you don't feel like you deserve it because of external circumstances. Personally, I work in a field right now where I didn't major in the thing that I'm doing. So I have a biomedical engineering degree, but I work as a software engineer right now. And that definitely caused me a little bit of imposter syndrome, but I'm gonna go through how I specifically overcame it with 3 key principles. The fourth one being a secret that you have to watch until the end. To understand imposter syndrome a little bit better, let's talk about a metaphor that I feel like breaks it down really easily. Imagine you have 2 boxes. In one box, you have your inputs, and the other box, you have your outputs. As you continuously put inputs into the input box, your output is going to be pretty crappy in the beginning, right? You're not going to really be seeing much that is anything worth like looking at or sharing to other people. And hopefully after time, you're going to get better at it, but you'll still see in those beginning phases that whatever you're doing really isn't good enough. And that's okay. Being bad at something in the beginning is completely normal and it's completely okay. But the issue is people just don't understand just how much you can grow with consistent inputs. So the more you keep inputting, the better the outputs are going to be. So you keep doing this. You keep committing to, doing pottery, cooking, baking. You keep getting better at it, and at a certain point, it becomes like second nature to you. You get so good at it that it doesn't become something that's super difficult, and your outputs start looking really good. But you don't notice that because you're just focused on the consistency and getting the inputs in. But then people will 100% start noticing you. And this is when the issue occurs, right? You have this machine of inputs and outputs. You see every single time an output comes out, that first bad batch of cookies, that broken pot, that disgusting thing that you cooked for your girlfriend that one night, which she kind of always makes fun of you about. But eventually, one of those days you might make something for a coworker, a friend, and then they'll say to you, "This is amazing, and you have to sell this," or "You're so good at this. Like, how did you get so good at this?" And then you'll be taken aback. You'll say to yourself, "But I'm not that good. But I didn't try that hard." But stop. Listen. The fact that you put your time and effort as a human being to accomplish something means that you are not an imposter. You have already done enough to impress somebody, and that gives you some sort of authority over the topic or over the situation that you're in. And this is something that not a lot of people understand because our brains trick us into thinking that we're not good at things because it's what our brains are really good at. From an engineering perspective, imagine the brain as a circuit. When you think about the way electricity flows in a circuit, it usually follows the path of least resistance. When you have resistors or roadblocks, these resistors are going to make it harder for the electricity to pass. And if you think about it, this electricity is your emotion towards the thing that you're doing or learning. Obviously, it's really easy for you to be down on yourself and see how terrible you are and not good enough because that's like the thing that your brain wants to do so that you can be more consistent and want to grow and want to be better. That's embedded within us. Think about humans who farm the best crops, who fish the best fish, who built the best houses because they were too scared to accept the thing that they've created. But think about the humans who were able to accept the thing that created and their huts fell down and they didn't fish enough and they didn't survive the long winters because they didn't grind hard enough. And that's why we have this predisposition to be imposters for ourselves. We are built to survive. And not enough people understand this, that it takes a lot of effort to break out of those biological systems that we have in our brain to actually be content and actually be happy with our existence. Because honestly, life is really difficult and life is very difficult to sustain. So your brain is more likely to put yourself in a situation where you're going to be more motivated to work harder, to farm more, to work harder at your job, to achieve more so that you survive longer and that you extend your bloodline and do all this stuff that humans are supposed to be doing, right? Biologically speaking. But that's not really the path for everybody. So having this understanding that your brain takes the path of least resistance and that in order to actually accept that you're not an imposter, you have to go to this resistance and kind of lean into it will help you overcome imposter syndrome. Because it is uncomfortable to be good at something just as much as it is uncomfortable to be bad at something. Accepting that you have talent, accepting that you are good is really, really hard because there are so many people who are probably better than you. You have to understand that all situations are pretty two-sided. Don't give yourself the benefit of the doubt when you're just starting out. You need to grind and you need to get really good in order to accept this part, right? But if you're already at a certain level where you've achieved something and somebody has recognized you for your success, then you can start relaxing. You can start saying to yourself, you know what? I am good enough. For me, having some sort of physical material thing has actually helped me a lot in understanding my accomplishments because I train jujitsu and it's pretty hard to actually show somebody how good you are at jujitsu unless you train with them. And that's what belts are for. So I have a purple belt, meaning that I'm at a certain level at jiu-jitsu where I can beat most blue and white belts and purple belts as well, but it's going to be more competitive for sure. And that piece of cloth, that piece of fabric shows that I'm not an imposter. It is something that proves that my skill is at this ability level. The inputs are just as important as the outputs. Make sure that the inputs that you're making are just as consistent as they possibly can be, and eventually I'm certain that your outputs are going to be great as well. Let's talk about my second point, outcome independence, and how you can be using it to overcome the feeling of not being good enough. Outcome independence completely negates imposter syndrome because if you have outcome independence, you know that no matter what happens, your accomplishments will suffice. You will be okay. You will not completely lose everything, and that you've already made the decisions to get you to a certain baseline that you'll be successful at. And reaching that baseline is the really important part. Now, a lot of people can't define this baseline. They just say, I want a lot of money, or I want to become a millionaire, or like do all these things and do all these crazy things. But you need to have something you can fall back on where no matter what happens, right? No matter your abilities fail or your worst dreams come true and you're not actually good enough for the thing you do, you have the security to understand that you're going to be okay. And that you can more from a place of abundance actually accomplish and achieve the goals that you want. Don't think about things from a place of scarcity. Think about things from a place of abundance when you can build that abundance. When you can say to yourself, if I lost my job tomorrow, I will be completely fine. Every great man is an actor of his own ideal. So that's why I'm saying that you should also be an actor of your own ideal. You don't need to be a perfect person in order to be a good person. You don't need to be perfect in order to get to the goals and achieve the dreams that you want. All you need to do is actually put forth your best effort and act as if you were the version of yourself you always wanted to be. In 5 years from now, if you actually put all the effort and all of the sacrifice it took to being the type of person that you want, would you be that person? If the answer is no, then you probably need to rethink about what you could do or what you can think about or try differently to get to that level. But if the answer is yes, then you're already doing the right thing. You're already succeeding in some way. You are not an imposter. You are working towards becoming the best version of yourself in 5 years. And 5 years sounds like such a long time, but guys, it's really not. Think about your entire life. Think about everything that you've ever done. Have you ever actually looked within yourself and said to yourself, I am good enough. I am okay. Even if you are in a situation where you don't feel like you're enough, you were handed everything in life and you don't feel like you have the ability to do something new, as long as you are trying, as long as you are putting in some sort of effort, some sort of chance and some sort of actual physical manifestation of your effort is being placed somewhere in the universe, you will be rewarded with something. It doesn't have to be something that is better than everybody else. You're not going to be rewarded with a new yacht if you go to work for 5 days a week for an entire year, right? You are going to be rewarded with what you put in. And you need to constantly be wanting to improve and have just a learning and improvement mindset if you want to become better. And don't let this become your next imposter syndrome, right? You say to yourself, oh, I'm not growing enough. Oh, I'm not learning enough. No, that's not what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say is, hey, you are trying, man. You are doing okay. It's okay for some days for you to take a break. It's okay for you to say to yourself, I've done enough to get to the level that I want. But it's not okay to know that you're not trying, to understand that you intentionally are not giving yourself the best shot. And if you are in that situation, you need to kind of reevaluate your entire life because it's like, why wouldn't you want to be in the best situation that you can possibly be in, right? Why wouldn't you want to be the ideal version of yourself? Do you want to be the not ideal version of yourself? If you want to, that's fine, but I know that I am going to try achieving that goal. I am going to try putting my best effort in, becoming a content creator, doing all this stupid, crazy stuff with my friends and my family, and just build up and create a foundation for myself so that I can be the ideal version of myself I want to be in 5 years. And I know you can too. All right, this is Matt from the Live Company. Hope you learned something. and thanks for watching. Peace!